Hey guys, welcome back. All right, so here we go. So let's get into this. Libras, we shall see. What do we have? Six of Swords. Libra, we've got a shift toward calm, toward peace, kindness, gentleness. Emperor. We have a shift also towards somebody who's like taking charge of their actions, their behavior. This could be an Aries, this could be a divine masculine, somebody who actually wants calm and peace with Libra. Now, this seems like it's somebody who's first, if you can't master your own self, if you're, baby who lashes out every time you get upset and you're, ego gets bruised and stuff, you're not an emperor. But this person is. This person is, they're not, like in this place where they're incapable of saying sorry or saying that they made a mistake. They're somebody who thinks about others, or somebody, a good emperor. Well, what it takes to be an emperor and an empress is self-awareness, right? And the ability to recognize that there are other people and other people matter. And, just like those basics that we think was pretty basic, but sometimes if somebody's in a real selfish, mentality, they can't take accountability. They don't think about others. They just want to be in charge. They want to be, respected, even though they don't deserve respect, and all these things, right? Well, thankfully, that's not who this person is. This is a character who has taken charge of themselves first, and they may be taking responsibility for whatever chaos was created, their role in it, and they really want to smooth things over. They do not feel puffed up and successful about this either. They feel like I feel like they're coming in very humble. Like, my greatest wish is to create harmony. I don't know that this is going to work. I feel like I've made some pretty significant mistakes. I would like to course correct my behavior. This is great. This is a person with a conscience, right? We've got the Ace of Wands upright. Very beautiful energy, a very powerful sense of like passion for this, even though they don't feel good about where things are, but they want things to get better. We've got the Six of Wands again in the reverse. Double time. We've got that Six of Wands in the reverse. This is so not ego-based. This is not a character who is passionate about creating calm because they're like, you know, I want to be in charge. No. This is somebody who's just like, peace is what is needed. That's plain and simple. This isn't about my ego. Five of Swords. This is something where I think we have a character who is so, like, their heart is in so much the right place. What they say is there's so many external factors that have caused so much drama, and maybe I didn't manage those external factors very well, and then that created nothing but chaos between us. That is not the way I wanted it to be. Maybe I let myself get too scared in the past. I just feel like this emperor has seen the bigger picture, because emperors also step back and they can see their actions, the cause of their actions, the cause and effect relationships in life. And I really love how they're recognizing that they caused a lot of, or contributed. Let's not say they're the cause, let's say they contributed, because that's their own spin on this, right? I have contributed to conflict with somebody that I love dearly. I could have done things differently, and instead I created so much drama. And we've got that Two of Cups. We've got this wonderful sense of connection, and what they care about more now than anything, I think, is getting on target with their Libra. They feel like they didn't love Libra enough. They feel like they didn't share their emotions with their Libra. They feel like they weren't fair with their Libra. They didn't put their heart out there. They didn't offer their heart for some reason. I'm wondering if in this storyline, if there was just a lot of, like I said, external conflict, right? Maybe they were constantly distracted by other people's drama, and that could be anything. That could be it being overly involved in family conflict, workplace conflict, anything that makes it so that, there's that attention to everything external to the relationship is going to fracture the relationship because it's too much focus. I mean, addictions, there's another example. Somebody who was, I don't see this as a cheater or, liar or anything. It just says that there were family pressures, if someone, and I'd hate to even say this, but if somebody like didn't approve of their relationship with Libra, and that put tension on things, and there's, you know, billions of reasons that people who have no business having opinions about anybody else's business will always have opinions, right? Family is famous for that, let's be honest. And we still love them, and that's why it gets so hard, because we love them, but they overstep boundaries immensely. I mean, I think that that's a just like a built-in reality, and oftentimes it doesn't make it right. I'm just saying it's very, you know, I think relatable, that family can cause a lot of tension with relationships. And you know, that can, if you let it, it can destroy a relationship if somebody doesn't have enough personal empowerment or backbone, courage to say, well, see, this is my heart we're talking about, and I'll give it to whomever I choose. And family's going to have to suck it. Sorry, you don't like it, you got to suck it. Not my problem. Suck it up and deal with it. That's your problem. You can be unhappy, you have the right to be unhappy, but it doesn't mean I have to change. So I'm just thinking that maybe at one point the pressures of whatever it was, maybe they didn't say that. And I'm sorry, I'm being very rude and very, you know, like flagrant disrespect, but I don't think anybody should tell somebody else who they can love, you know, or who they can pick. And I'm not saying that's necessarily, but that could have factored in, because we got 5 swords coming in. So it could have been, you know, work was busy, family needed a ton of attention, family disapproved, you know, blah, blah, blah. There could have been so many things all at once that destroyed this relationship. And no wonder we have an emperor saying, I should never have allowed this to happen. I let the person I love be the last person on the list that I was protecting, as far as like protecting our relationship. I should have stood beside my partner. They didn't get my heart. They didn't even get my emotions, because my emotions were being shunted elsewhere. You know, this is one of those messages where it's like, take care of your home, take care of the people nearest and dearest to you, maybe first. Is, you know, like their heart, be gentle with the person's heart that you love. That's what they'd like to course correct. From here on, I will always put my partner first. This is definitely somebody who they feel like they have really fumbled this, and they hope. No wonder they have, you know, the 2 doses of the 6 of Wands in the reverse. No, they're not proud, and they're not saying like, I'm here to just fix it all. No, they're actually feeling like I really made mistakes here. They do not like the mistakes that they themselves made. They'd really like to course correct this. They are aware that this was the critical thing that lost them this connection, or that hurt their Libra. You got the Ace of Pentacles upright. God, they know it's kind of rich of them to be asking for a do-over, especially if they went into cricket mode, right? Silent mode. You notice that the skull is sitting here under the shrubbery, and it's got moss growing on it. They want a new beginning after all this time, after all this silence, and after not giving their heart once upon a time, not protecting the connection, and not opening up. No wonder they do not feel like this is going to be successful. The only thing is, they are owning all of this. They are recognizing all of this, and they're also saying, maybe, let me go back to that first card. Let's take a look at that 6 of Swords. I was going to say, maybe they're in a better position. Well, they just left their family behind. Okay, so there was some kind of big old family stuff. Family wanted them to, this feels like that, you notice how they're all disapproving, and they're all standing here, and they're like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're going a different direction? Chariot is somebody who makes their decisions and they move forward for themselves. You can only be an emperor and empress and ride in a chariot. Nobody else can, because you have to be the person who controls the direction your life will take, and you accept the consequences for your actions. And I feel like for a very long time, they let extended family, parents, siblings, everybody had all of this expectation. And it was always like, you do what the family says. And this group, and this may have been extended, this could have been their community, this could have been, you know, there's so many ways that people like partition off, you know, a religious group, a, you know, belief system, a, you know, whatever it is. It's like, and this is why I hate the us versus them mentality, because as soon as you do that, now everyone who isn't in the little group is the outsider, you know, the forbidden, the taboo. And it's like, that is so stupid. Humans are just humans. We all share the same globe. There's really no difference in any of us. We just speak a couple different languages. We're scattered around in a few different places. We got some different recipes, but ultimately, we all got to breathe air. We all got to eat food. We all live on the same planet. It is so ridiculous to me that that's not just a universal, like, obvious thing that we can all agree on. This says there was a group that they couldn't let somebody in, but they also couldn't let this person go. So this person they kind of had to make a choice. If it's an us or a them situation, I got to choose who my heart wants to build with. So I'm going to choose my Libra now, because you've made it an us versus them. You forced me to have to choose instead of just welcoming in the person that I love. Yes, they're late in the game maybe on making this decision, but it looks like their life is getting immensely calmer, feeling like this was probably a very oppressive environment that they were in, whatever it was, micromanaging family members, or, a community that fosters division between people. And there's so many ways to divide. And I'm so pleased that this person's like, I don't need to divide anything. I should have been able to still get along with, whatever my family, and my family should accept who I love. Or that's just a scenario. I don't know what it is, but they've kind of decided they were definitely being stepped on. Their own personal choice to love who they love was being taken from them, so long as they permitted that. This is them saying, if I have to choose, I'm losing either way. I'm either losing my Libra or have already lost my Libra, because I would have to please a group that wants me to do what they want, or I have to lose that group in order to do what my heart wants. Well, if we pause and say, the truth is, it's not a choice between Libra or the group. It's a choice between my life being my own, or me living on my knees under someone else's decisions for me. So now it's super personal, which is, I think, what always should have been boiled down to. It should never have been, do I pick them or do I pick my family? It's, do I choose the freedom to actually love who I love? Or do I let other people tell me who I'm permitted to love? This is why they're an emperor. They got down to the foundational question and they asked themselves, who am I? What do I want? And that's great. This is them choosing to free themselves. And I think it got a lot easier for them to free themselves, and now to know unequivocally that they want to be with their Libra. This is them returning to a soulmate. Now, of course, they don't feel good about this, though, simply because after silence and after time, and I only say that because that Ace of Pentacles, after silence and time, how are they going to say, Libra, I really love you, when they didn't maybe protect the connection? Here's what I'm going to say, and this is not to like give them some great hall pass, but remember the way we just described the ultimate question here. It wasn't a question about, do I pick Libra or do I pick my family? It was, when do I start picking myself? The question was not about, and I'm only saying it in this context because it changes the perception maybe for Libra. It's not that they didn't pick Libra, it's that they didn't pick themselves. They didn't know if they could pick their own freedom, their own heart. They were not abandoning Libra, they were abandoning themselves by letting themselves be coerced. And I mean, there's a lot of times in life that we can be so guilted and so highly pressurized into doing, staying, ignoring, things that we really care about, because there's so much pressure put on us. And I just think in this storyline, the only reason I bring that up is not really to give them a pass, right? They needed to buck up and become the emperor, but it's simply to point out they didn't ignore and intentionally, like cast Libra out of their life. It's that they couldn't choose themselves until this point, until they wrap their head around what is the real question here. So I only say that because when you think of it like that, it's like, oh, wow, this person, they probably had a lifetime of not, or maybe a lifetime of being indoctrinated into, you're not allowed to choose yourself, you do what we say. And so they had to break away from that mentality first, which takes a lot of courage, a lot of bravery. Then they start choosing for themselves, and they also love Libra. I just feel like in this storyline, we could see how they could have been all this time, very much in love with Libra, and also still done the connection wrong. But that's because they did their own heart wrong, you know? So this is somebody who's gained their liberty at this point. And to their credit, the first thing that they think of is the person that they actually loved, still love, have always loved. King of Swords, Wheel of Fortune in the reverse. They don't actually think this is going to work out in their favor, but they're going to do this anyway. They're going to try to get back into Libra's world. You know, we saw, I don't know where the other one went now, but we saw them with the Six of Wands in the reverse twice. They have no expectation of success. We have the Wheel of Fortune in the reverse. They think that they probably deserve whatever the hell they get. If Libra tells them to beat it, it would be justice. It would be fair if Libra doesn't want them, but they're going to present themselves anyway. And I think that they're going to not whine, not play a tiny violin, but just simply say, I couldn't choose me, and therefore I couldn't choose us until I'm finally choosing my actual heart. It did cost them an entire group, the support of a group or something. It cost them dearly to be able to finally break away and stand up on their own 2 feet, but their life is already better. And I think their first port of call is Libra. And it's not because they think they'll get Libra back. They wish they could, but they don't believe for an instant that Libra will take them back. But to their credit, it's not even about that. It's about, at least I'm saying my truth. Finally, at least I am, showing up. At least finally I'm doing the thing that I should have done a long time ago for my own heart. Knight of Cups. If Libra says that they don't want him, they'll leave Libra in peace. But they just want Libra to know there's never been a time that I didn't want to be with you. There's never a time I didn't love you. And there won't be a time when I don't love you, even if you say I need to go. That's a lot. That's a lot for Libra to digest and decide what they want to do. Let's get one message just for Libra in this. 10 of Swords, 7 of Coins. To me, what this says is so much of the past, which would have been, look, if they had tried to be with Libra while still perhaps being caught in this bizarre tug of war of overly overreaching, tyrannical people in their life, and they were still trying to bring Libra in. I mean, those people could have made Libra's life miserable. It could have been really painful to feel, like Libra was always pushed out on the edges, but they were trying to be with Libra while still being, keeping nice with a group that was not budging, not, being kinder. So in all honesty, I believe this says all of that mess of the past, it would have been doomed anyway. It is better that Libra and this person really weren't, they didn't really try to build something properly with Libra in the past, but it wouldn't have been possible until this point in time anyway. So putting an end to a lot of this, by the way, this is, I'm not going to tell the whole story of it, but there's a very kind of gruesome little mythology story around this particular card. But it is actually about family. And so what I would just say here is something about they had to step away from a very toxic group. And it's only now, and there's been a lot of growth that has occurred already to even get them to step away from the toxic group. But now they can finally start to grow and build as, I mean, this is just 2 people now standing there with flames between them, beginning to grow, beginning a new opportunity. I just think that in this storyline, it's very possible, finally. It's the first time it's really been possible that Libra and this person could actually have success together, even though, in the past we could say, well, why didn't they do this sooner? Well, you only got the skills in your toolbox that you got to deal with until you develop new skills to deal with and think about and utilize and then figure out how to move forward. So anyway, in this storyline, there's great hope for this connection. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for giving it a thumbs up. Bye.